Friend Computer has a variety of missions needing happy and loyal troubleshooters in order to complete. These missions will present vibrant challenges, giving players plenty of opportunities to kill, I mean, cooperate with their fellow troubleshooters. Anything else is obviously treason. Paranoia Brave New Missions Something Satiric This Way comes from Mongoose Publishing, rolls out 5 standalone adventures for the humorous science fiction role playing game. Is it worth picking up? Well, you're going to find out because I'll be sharing my review right after this. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I'll be sharing my review of Paranoia Brave New Missions Something Satiric This Way Comes from Mongoose Publishing. The 152-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $44.99. Or if you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. Having said that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Paranoia Brave New Missions. A few things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Mongoose Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside. Then lastly, this is an adventure anthology. So if you're a player and your game master has picked up Brave New Missions, maybe just haven't started running any of them yet, maybe they've been talking about picking this up. Keep in mind, there are going to be some minor spoilers ahead, and more importantly, as I'm flipping through the book, it's very possible you're going to see some things which ruin some of the surprises of these missions. So I'm just letting you know right up front. Of course, if your game master has been kicking around picking this up, let them know about this review. That way they can approach Paranoia Brave New Missions to make a far more informed buying decision. First thing we're going to do is take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life, so let's give credit where credit is due. I will also mention the authors get credit on the opening pages of their adventures as well. So this is an adventure anthology for Paranoia. It includes 5 adventures, one of which is pretty well known from the past. I'll be very honest, outside of this latest edition of Paranoia, the only other edition I ever encountered was the first edition from West End Games. In fact, I picked up a lot of stuff for that Paranoia. So if these other adventures in here are revised from other editions, I am not aware of it. But we're going to start off with Certifiable, which makes for not only an excellent introduction to Paranoia, but you could actually use this as an introduction to role-playing games in general for people. Now, it is important that you make sure that all of your players understand the ground rules of Paranoia, because it is vastly different than just about every other role-playing game out there, because there are betrayals, there are double crosses, there are triple crosses, there are situations where one troubleshooter will pin the blame on another troubleshooter for something the first troubleshooter did. There's treason. You're going to see troubleshooters blowing each other up. And of course, everybody's a mutant and everybody belongs to a secret society, and those are all treasonous. So Paranoia is a very unique role-playing game. It is not for everyone. A lot of people, if you understand the premise going in and you're just ready to have fun and roll with it, you can have a blast with Paranoia Adventures. If you get your feelings hurt very easily, or you don't want to see your clone go through multiple clones because they're all getting killed, you're probably going to steer clear from Paranoia. But the first adventure, I definitely like quite a bit. It is essentially the troubleshooters getting their certification to be troubleshooters, and it is a relatively ridiculous situation to start off with. And it's even a little Kafka-esque in certain ways. I do like it. I think it would be a lot of fun, and it's a great way for players to kind of get used to the dirty dealings that will happen in Paranoia. So we're also going to get some pre-generated characters that you can utilize in this. As far as the 5 adventures that are contained within, they are standalone, so they don't really tie together to make a campaign, which I'm fine with because I got to be honest, I don't know if I would run a Paranoia campaign. I think I would focus more on one-shots from time to time, or maybe even they were 2-session missions, but maybe not deeper than that. Now, I do recall back in the old days, there were a lot of campaigns for Paranoia, and they were very interesting. One of the issues there, though, was, and this was with some of the West End games, role-playing games, at that point in time, meta plots were a big thing in role-playing games. So there'd be this overarching meta plot that the adventures would be part of, and players were kind of tied into what was going on with the meta plot. So sometimes they didn't feel like they had the same agency as they should. So I don't mind this not being a campaign book whatsoever. So the next mission will have the troubleshooters being uploaded into the cloud to stop a group of treasonous citizens from some diabolical plans they've got. And I found this to be fairly funny. It's a solid adventure. Next up is Meet and Greet. Of course, troubleshooters are disliked in Alpha Complex because they're always destroying things and getting people killed. So this is actually a PR mission where the player characters are attempting to improve the reputation of troubleshooting teams. So very interesting there. Now, the 4th mission is excellent. This is the one that is kind of a revised mission. This is from an earlier edition of Paranoia. Now, the troubleshooters are brought on board to guard an invisible train. And it's one of these situations where it's like the emperor's new clothes. Is it really there? Is it not there? So they start doubting if the train actually exists. This is a fun mission. You're going to have a good time with this. Now, before I get into the last mission, I should point out production quality on this is really nice. Nice thick paper stock. Artwork throughout is very uniform. It's really good. I will point out that some of the artwork is a little softer than other missions. So it's obvious we've got different artists at work here, and that's fine. But for the most part, the artwork is very uniform throughout. It's well done, and we have a few interesting set pieces as well. Our final mission is going to involve an illegal casino, and the troubleshooters are going to find themselves kind of in the middle of it. And sometimes they're going to be working for Friend Computer, and other times they're going to find themselves working for the illegal casino. And there are a few interesting set pieces throughout this. Another solid adventure. But the reality is the 2 standout adventures in this book, in my opinion, are Certifiable, which is the introduction to Paranoia, and it pretty much covers all the bases that you would expect in a Paranoia adventure. And then the Stealth Train Redux, which is a new edition of an old adventure. With this last mission, I have to laugh because one of the NPCs is supposed to be presented as Margaret Dumont from Marx Brothers films. She looks like her. She's supposed to act like her. There are some cool little Easter eggs that are sprinkled throughout these adventures, too. So that's pretty fun. Now, I should point out there are some instances here where the authors are going for some easy laughs that don't necessarily go over all that well, or at least I don't imagine them being as funny as maybe the designers think they are, but those are very few and far between. For the most part, these missions should be a very good time at your game table. So that is a peek inside Paranoia. Brave new missions. Something satiric this way comes. Let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts as well as my review score. I got to say, all 5 adventures in Brave New Missions are very, very solid. Now, I do think Certifiable and Stealth Train Redux really do stand out from the others. But the other 3, people should have fun with. I do appreciate the fact that every one of these adventures is radically different than the others. There's no redundancy here. There's no like underlying theme or anything like that. So you can pretty much pick up any of these adventures and run them as a one shot or maybe a couple of sessions for a couple of the adventures. But for the most part, you can probably wrap these up in about a 4-hour game session or so, give or take. Production quality is really nicely done, which is what we expect from Mongoose Publishing these days. Nice thick paper stock, got a stitch binding. This is going to hold up to repeated use. Like the artwork throughout, even though there are some pieces that feel a little softer than others, it's still pretty uniform. And there are some interesting oddball set piece images in there also. Now, there are some attempts at humor that kind of fall flat in some of the adventures, but there isn't much of that. I can see, for the most part, people are going to chuckle over the various different things, the various different Easter eggs and things like that, which are sprinkled throughout. So all in all, this is a very solid adventure anthology. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Paranoia, Brave New Missions, Something Satiric This Way Comes, a 7.5 out of 10. All right, that is it for this time out. If you enjoy the Gaming Gang and feel that this is a valuable resource, there are a few different ways for you to help support the outlet. One is by utilizing our affiliate links to the One Bookshelf sites, such as DriveThruRPG. You can also make a one-time donation by way of PayPal, and even become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find more information down in those show notes. Also in the show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up, so be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, be sure to select all notifications, because that way you'll know not only when I share videos such as this review, you'll also be informed when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. And I bring you the latest in tabletop role-playing game news and more on every episode. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.